I never believed the old tales about man-eating tigers, not until I came to India in 1923 to work as a tea plantation manager in the hills of Kumaon. My name is Thomas Whelan, and what I'm about to tell you happened during my first year here. I write this now with trembling hands, for the memories still haunt me. The plantation sits at the edge of dense jungle. When I arrived, the workers greeted me with respect, but also with strange warnings. They spoke in hushed voices about a demon tiger that walked like a ghost through the tall grass. I dismissed their fears as superstition. No tiger would come this close to human settlement, I told my assistant Raj confidently. He simply nodded, but his eyes held something I couldn't read. 6 workers have gone missing in the past month, Sahib, he said quietly. I blamed it on workers fleeing to other plantations for better pay. That was my first mistake. The rains came early that year. I remember sitting on my veranda one evening, watching water pour from the sky in sheets. The jungle seemed to breathe with the storm. That's when I heard it for the first time, a deep, rumbling growl that seemed to vibrate through the very air. Not like normal tiger calls I'd heard before. This sounded almost deliberate. The next morning, one of our night guards was missing. All that remained was a trail of blood leading into the grass. The workers refused to go near that section of the plantation. I sent word to the local British authorities, who promised to send a hunter, but it would take weeks for him to arrive. 3 more disappeared that week. Always at night, always without witnesses. The only signs were paw prints larger than any I'd seen before, and strange drag marks in the earth. I began to carry my rifle everywhere. Sleep became impossible. Every night I would hear that same growl, sometimes close to my bungalow, sometimes distant. It was playing with us, hunting us. Raj told me stories about tigers that had tasted man, how they develop a preference for human flesh, because we are easier prey than wild animals. This one is old and clever, Sahib, he warned. It knows our patterns now. One evening, I decided I would end this. I positioned myself in a blind near where the last worker had vanished. I waited for hours, the humidity making my clothes stick to my skin. Mosquitoes whined in my ears. Just as my eyelids grew heavy, I caught movement in the grass. I had never seen such a massive tiger. Its shoulders stood nearly 4 feet high, its coat a dull orange with black stripes faded with age. But what struck me most were its eyes. One was a bright amber, but the other was clouded white, blind. This old tiger had adapted to hunt the only prey it could still catch, humans. I raised my rifle, hands shaking. The tiger turned its head slowly toward me, as if it could sense my presence. Our eyes met. In that moment, I understood what true fear was. This wasn't just an animal. It was death itself, wrapped in orange and black. I squeezed the trigger. The shot went wide. The tiger vanished into the grass with surprising speed. That night, I barricaded myself in my bungalow. I could hear it circling outside, its heavy paws crushing the gravel of my garden path. It knew me now. It had seen me. Near dawn, the growling stopped. I must have dozed off because I woke to screaming. One of the house servants had been taken right from the kitchen door. All that remained was his bloody footwear and a trail leading into the jungle. The hunter finally arrived a week later. Jim Corbett was his name, a quiet man with keen eyes who listened carefully to my story. He tracked the tiger for days before finally killing it. When they brought its body back to the plantation, workers came from miles around to see it. 12 feet from nose to tail, Corbett told me, and the contents of its stomach confirmed our worst fears. I couldn't look. I knew what they had found. The killings stopped, but my peace never returned. Even now, years later, I still wake in the night thinking I hear that growl outside my window. When the grass rustles in the wind, I see that massive shape moving through it. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still see that one good eye staring back at me, patient and hungry. The workers say some tigers develop a taste for human flesh. I say some humans develop a taste for fear. And once you've tasted it as deeply as I have, you never forget the flavor.